It looked like Adam Silver has found himself in some serious hot water over the management of the WNBA. And is they faking ratings? I don't know, but we finna talk about it.
Did NBA Commissioner Adam Silver just accidentally expose the WNBA's deepest, darkest secrets? What was meant to be a routine PR appearance has detonated into a full-blown controversy, leaving fans, players, and even league executives completely stunned. His recent, seemingly innocuous comments about Caitlin Clark and the state of the WNBA have not only ignited furious backlash, but also forced everyone to question the true intentions and priorities of the league's top brass. Get ready, because what he revealed might just be the biggest problem the WNBA is desperately trying to hide.
Adam Silver himself has chimed in and addressed the situation directly, saying Cathy Engelbert has presided over historic growth in the league, but there's no question that there's issues that we need to address with our players, not just economic, there's relationship issues as well. I'm confident we can fix those over time, and this league can continue to be on the rocket trajectory that it's on.
Now, before we jump in,
it seems every time the swirling drama around the WNBA appears to settle, someone in a position of power inevitably steps forward to douse the embers with a fresh stream of gasoline. This time, however, the spotlight isn't on the usual suspect, WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, but rather her ultimate superior, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver. His intervention, intended to bring clarity, has instead plunged the entire league into an even deeper state of turmoil and public scrutiny, making him the unexpected figure catching all the heat.
I would love for Adam, since we're a brother-sister league, to go to some of the CBA negotiations, sit in the room, hear what the women have to say, hear some of their concerns, and let's go from there. Let's build something.
I'm here to tell you that NBA leadership is very much abreast on what's happening in these CBA negotiations. She's not the only decision maker who is denying some.
And the timing couldn't be worse.
While it's highly probable that Silver had no intention of sparking such a ferocious blaze, his remarks during that pivotal NBC interview last week spread like wildfire across social media and sports networks. The clip featuring his unsettling insights achieved viral status almost instantly, circulating with the kind of blistering speed that would make even Aja Wilson's sprints down the court look sluggish. It wasn't just a soundbite, it was a bombshell dropped into an already volatile situation.
What was interesting was the amount of players that came to the defense of Fee and the crickets that came to the defense of Cathy for me.
I mean, this is an important part. Like, this is an important time with the CBA negotiations. Like, the players, when you look at leagues around the world, like, it is about caring for your athletes, caring for the players. And that's just not the feelings right now. And I think everyone is kind of just, they rallied around Fee because, one, that was a powerful statement to make. And obviously it puts pressure on Cathy and put pressure on the leadership. But I mean, it was a lot. It was a
Silver had initially sat down for what was meticulously planned as a carefully curated, PR-friendly discussion designed to project an image of steady growth, strong leadership, and all the usual corporate platitudes one might expect. Yet, the moment the conversation veered towards the undeniable impact of Caitlin Clark and the underlying dynamics within the WNBA, the entire narrative spectacularly imploded. His now infamous assertion that the league's challenges aren't merely economic but fundamentally relationship issues sounded deceptively benign at first blush, until you peel back the layers and grasp the truly damning implications of such a statement.
It is very personal because the WNBA wants to forbid us to make a lot of more money than we're ever going to make here, what it seems like in other leagues. So it's very personal. We have families, this is our job. We make more money in China, Russia, Turkey than here. So it is very personal, and I don't think why it should become personal. How much is...
In a bewildering display of contradictory messaging, Silver attempted to laud Engelbert, crediting her with overseeing a period of historic growth for the league. However, in the very next breath, he astonishingly conceded a stark disconnect between the WNBA's leadership and its players. This raises a critical question. Which narrative are we supposed to believe? Adam? Is it a period of unprecedented success, or is the league spiraling into historic chaos? Because from the turbulent events we've witnessed throughout this tumultuous year, the WNBA isn't merely growing, it's exploding at seams, and absolutely not in a way that suggests positive, sustainable development.
What was interesting was the amount of players that came to the defense of Fee and the crickets that came to the defense of Kathy for me. Adam Silver is Kathy's boss, and he is the commissioner of the NBA. I signed a deal with Amazon to broadcast for Amazon. I got a text from Adam Silver saying congratulations. I had my third child. I got a text from Adam Silver about my third child. Now, whether this is Adam or his assistant, somebody from the league office is reaching out to me. I got a baby gift for my third child. I get a Christmas gift from Adam Silver every year. I retired. Adam Silver sent me a text message that basically congratulated me on my career and how much I've done for the women's game, and look forward to how much I'm gonna do from the sideline. I have not heard from Kathy. I saw Kathy in Phoenix after I had been retired for 4 months at Phoenix All-Star Game, and she said congratulations in person. And that was the only time. And so you've heard other players, Sabrina Ionescu alluded to this, I have a better relationship with Adam Silver than I do Kathy. My 2 jersey retirements, there was no Kathy.
Yeah.
So I think that Adam Silver understands the process. I don't know if he understood that Kathy was not doing that either.
The current landscape of the WNBA is undeniably defined by widespread chaos. We've seen everything from Nafisa Collier's scathing public rebuke of Kathy Engelbert for suggesting Caitlin Clark should simply be grateful for her lucrative off-court earnings, to players openly hinting at a potential lockout, and a chorus of outraged fans persistently screaming about perceived referee bias. Amidst this maelstrom, Silver's recent interview only exacerbated the discord, leaving many with the distinct impression that he himself no longer harbors full confidence in Engelbert's ability to steer the ship. The subtle undertones of his remarks spoke volumes about the fractured trust at the highest levels. When Silver described the league's volatile situation as unfortunate, it wasn't just a polite observation, it was in the exclusive lexicon of billionaires, a coded admission that the WNBA is currently teetering on the brink of absolute disaster. Furthermore, his characterization of the league's core issues as personal was nothing more than a thinly veiled corporate speak way of confirming what many already suspected, that behind the scenes, the internal dynamics are so fraught with animosity and resentment that practically everyone involved fundamentally despises each other. But the true bombshell, the moment that truly sent shockwaves through the league and its fan base, arrived when Silver began discussing the WNBA's viewership ratings. He confidently proclaimed that the league was experiencing a rocket trajectory moment, implying unprecedented success and popularity. Yet, almost simultaneously, reports began to surface detailing a rather less flattering reality. The actual finals viewership numbers were frankly abysmal. This stark contradiction was further compounded by revelations that Nielsen had, for the first time ever, mysteriously altered their methodology for counting out-of-home viewing, suddenly including viewership from places like bustling sports bars, hotel lobbies, and airport screens into the 2025 ratings. So while the numbers might technically appear inflated, the critical question remains, is the league genuinely more popular, or did someone simply and conveniently move the goalposts to paint a rosier picture? Unsurprisingly, fans across social media were not just skeptical, they were outright incensed, vehemently rejecting the manipulated narrative. Comments flooded in, declaring these supposedly historic ratings to be faker than the AC's foul calls, with many accusing the league of cooking the stats to bury Caitlin Clark's impact. This widespread cynicism points to the very core reason why Adam Silver's comments backfired so spectacularly. Let's be brutally honest, without the unparalleled phenomenon of Caitlin Clark, these so-called historic ratings simply would not exist. She has, from her very first day, single-handedly carried this league on her back, driving sold-out arenas, dominating ESPN headlines, and drawing in an entirely new generation of casual viewers who, prior to her arrival, likely had no idea who Kathy Engelbert even was. Despite Clark's undeniable, transformative influence, there's a disturbing undercurrent suggesting that the league's power brokers are already acting as if they no longer need her. Silver's attempts to sound diplomatic as he droned on about collective bargaining and fostering relationship growth increasingly sounded less like genuine leadership and more like a calculated cover-up for Kathy Engelbert, all while subtly attempting to diminish or outright ignore the colossal impact of Caitlin Clark's unprecedented fame. The more he spoke, the clearer it became that the focus was on damage control rather than genuine acknowledgement of the talent driving their newfound visibility. And as we all know, the internet operates with lightning speed and an unforgiving memory. Within mere hours, the hashtag Adam Silver regret was trending, a testament to the immediate and visceral backlash his statements provoked. Fans and critics alike relentlessly dragged him for seemingly treating the entire WNBA as little more than a secondary side project. Others speculated that he was desperately trying to shield Kathy Engelbert's position, understanding that if she were to be ousted, the fallout would inevitably reflect poorly on his own leadership, given that Engelbert ultimately operates under his purview. When your direct superior feels compelled to publicly defend your tenure in interviews, it's a clear signal that deep-seated problems are brewing. Meanwhile, the players themselves are reaching a critical breaking point, their patience visibly wearing thin. Dallas Wings guard Sophie Cunningham has already delivered a stark warning, unequivocally hinting at a potential lockout, stating that players will simply refuse to take the court until their demands for fair treatment and deserved compensation are met. If current collective bargaining agreement negotiations fail to progress smoothly, the very existence of a 2026 WNBA season could be in serious jeopardy. This entire escalating crisis from top to bottom loops back directly to a profound failure of leadership, or rather, the glaring lack thereof. Silver's own conflicting and confusing public interviews are only serving to pour more fuel on an already raging inferno, further eroding trust and clarity at a time when the league desperately needs it most. This isn't just about a few bad comments, it's about the very future of the WNBA. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into this unfolding saga. And please let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Adam Silver truly exposed the WNBA's biggest problem? They're using Instagram stories to communicate with each other, sharing crucial information and updates as if they're in a casual high school group chat, not running a multi-million-dollar professional sports league. This astonishing lack of formal, structured communication among the league's top brass isn't just unprofessional, it highlights a profound internal disorganization, creating a breeding ground for rumors and misunderstandings rather than fostering a cohesive strategic environment. It paints a picture of a league scrambling to keep up, relying on informal channels that are fundamentally ill-suited for the complex demands of managing a rapidly growing enterprise. This isn't leadership, it's a spectacle of chaos adorned with corporate logos, a veneer of professionalism thinly stretched over deep-seated operational issues. True leadership demands clarity, foresight, and a unified vision, none of which seem to be consistently present when the primary mode of internal communication descends to the level of fleeting social media posts. Such an approach not only undermines the league's credibility, but also erodes trust among its stakeholders, from players to partners who expect a more robust and organized governance structure. To compound the growing discontent, fans quickly began drawing stark comparisons between the seemingly disparate ways NBA Commissioner Adam Silver interacts with and supports NBA players versus WNBA players. This wasn't merely casual observation. It became a significant point of contention, fueling a narrative that suggested a troubling imbalance in attention and care from the very top levels of professional basketball. The public began to question whether the WNBA was receiving the same level of personal investment and advocacy from the broader NBA hierarchy, sparking accusations of favoritism that resonated deeply with an already frustrated fan base. The legendary Candace Parker, a truly iconic figure in women's basketball, essentially confirmed these suspicions on her hugely popular podcast, dropping a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the community. She revealed that Adam Silver had personally reached out to her on multiple significant occasions throughout her career. He texted her upon her retirement, congratulated her when she signed her lucrative broadcast deal, and even sent well wishes when she had her baby. This level of personal engagement from the NBA commissioner stood in stark, almost unbelievable contrast to the perceived silence from her own league's commissioner, Kathy Engelbert. Parker's poignant and direct statement, "I get more love from Adam Silver than my own commissioner," wasn't just a critique, it was a devastating indictment of the WNBA's leadership, suggesting a profound lack of personal connection and support from the very person tasked with steering the league. That single unfiltered line from Candace Parker didn't just trend, it absolutely broke WNBA Twitter, igniting a firestorm of discussion and outrage across social media platforms. Her candid admission instantly reframed the entire conversation, shifting the focus from mere financial disparities to a far more fundamental and emotional issue: the critical absence of human connection, recognition, and genuine support from the WNBA's own leadership. It exposed a deeper, more personal disconnect that resonated powerfully with players and fans alike, revealing that the problem ran far deeper than just money. And in a move that only intensified the already heated situation, Adam Silver's recent comments, seemingly intended to smooth things over, inadvertently served to highlight this profound leadership vacuum even further. He had aimed to quell the brewing controversy and project an image of calm, but by candidly admitting to relationship issues within the league, he essentially said the quiet part out loud, confirming the very suspicions that players and fans harbored. His attempt at damage control spectacularly backfired, giving unintended credence to the narrative that the WNBA's internal dynamics were indeed fractured and lacking. The undeniable truth is that the players simply do not trust the league office, and there's no way to spin such a catastrophic breakdown of confidence into a positive headline, no matter how skilled the PR team. This inherent distrust is a foundational problem that undermines every effort at growth and unity. The situation becomes exponentially more critical when the sport's biggest star, Caitlin Clark, the undeniable face of the WNBA's unprecedented surge in popularity, is caught squarely in the middle of this entire avoidable mess. Her presence amplifies every single misstep, every moment of disunity, and every public grievance, placing the league's internal struggles under an unprecedented, unforgiving spotlight. As these internal issues continue to fester and spill into the public eye, serious questions are now being raised about the WNBA's touted growth numbers, with many starting to wonder if these impressive statistics are being inflated or strategically presented to mask deeper, more systemic problems in management. It's hard to reconcile a league that, on one hand, inexplicably refuses to mic up its players, thereby denying fans intimate access and potentially rich content, yet somehow manages to pull record-breaking ratings and attendance figures seemingly out of thin air. This stark contrast fuels skepticism, leading critics to question the true health and transparent operations of the league, suggesting a disconnect between its reported success and its observable organizational flaws. The WNBA's core problem isn't a lack of popularity. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The real issue lies with a leadership that appears to be under the mistaken impression that soaring popularity will magically solve all their underlying problems. This flawed perspective is a critical miscalculation because impressive viewership numbers and record merchandise sales, while certainly welcome, do not and cannot magically fix deep-seated locker room tension, rectify consistently bad officiating, or suddenly transform tone-deaf executives into empathetic, effective leaders. These are fundamental operational and interpersonal challenges that require direct strategic intervention, not just a celebratory glance at the balance sheet. Caitlin Clark, the phenomenon who has single-handedly brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA, certainly didn't ask for any of this escalating drama. Her sole intention was to play basketball, to showcase her unparalleled talent and passion for the game. Yet, through no fault of her own, she has become the unwilling epicenter of arguably the biggest internal mess and public controversy the WNBA has ever had to navigate, a situation that threatens to overshadow her historic impact on the sport. And to make matters worse, Adam Silver, in his recent public remarks, unwittingly exacerbated the entire situation, pouring gasoline on an already raging fire. Now, let's be entirely honest and fair. Adam Silver is far from being a villain in the world of professional sports. In fact, he is widely regarded as one of the most respected and effective commissioners in the industry. However, even leaders with the best intentions and stellar reputations can find their efforts blowing up in spectacular fashion when misjudging a volatile situation, and in this instance, his attempt to provide a calm, measured response undeniably did exactly that. His words, despite their likely benign intent, landed with the force of a public relations catastrophe. Because of this misstep, a growing chorus of fans is now demanding that if the NBA truly oversees and effectively runs the WNBA, then it's high time for Silver to move beyond mere rhetoric and decisively step in to fix these glaring systemic problems. They are no longer content with assurances or acknowledgments. They expect concrete action, asserting that true leadership means actively resolving issues, not just discussing them from a distance. The pressure is mounting for the NBA to leverage its considerable influence to restore order and trust within its sister league. It's simply untenable to celebrate impressive growth, record ratings, and exploding merchandise sales when, simultaneously, your most prominent players are openly and vehemently calling your own commissioner a ghost, criticizing her perceived absence and lack of engagement. The sheer hypocrisy of this situation is undeniable. As one of the most respected and decorated figures in basketball, Candace Parker so directly articulated, "I had to hear more from Adam than Kathy about my own career." This statement alone is not just embarrassing for the WNBA, it's a damning indictment of its leadership. The situation has become so acutely embarrassing that rumors are already flying fast and furious that Kathy Engelbert's job as WNBA commissioner might very well be on the line. Frankly, if Adam Silver genuinely intends to save face and restore any semblance of credibility to the league, he may have no choice but to replace her. The fans have reached their breaking point, the players are visibly angry and frustrated, and it seems that every time someone from the league office opens their mouth to address the crisis, the situation only manages to spiral further out of control, making a difficult situation exponentially worse. Adam Silver likely believed he was offering a calm, balanced, and diplomatic answer regarding the delicate nature of relationships and communication within the WNBA, aiming to de-escalate tensions. Instead, he unwittingly walked straight into a full-blown public relations nightmare, triggering an avalanche of criticism. This is precisely what happens when one catastrophically underestimates the sheer volume and passionate loyalty of Caitlin Clark's monumental fan base, a force that has proven itself to be incredibly vocal and fiercely protective. You simply cannot utter anything even remotely dismissive or critical about Caitlin Clark without the entire internet immediately catching fire, igniting a furious backlash that spreads with incredible speed and intensity. And right now, Adam Silver is undoubtedly feeling the full, unbridled force of that collective outrage, experiencing firsthand the power of a fan base that tolerates no perceived slight against their new superstar. The second those clips of Silver's comments hit social media, the digital world exploded. Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, you name the platform, and everyone had something to say, and none of it was gentle or forgiving. The online discourse quickly devolved into a torrent of criticism, anger, and disbelief, highlighting the deep frustration simmering among fans and players alike. One of the top comments under ESPN's post perfectly encapsulated the widespread sentiment with brutal precision, cutting straight to the heart of the matter. Adam Silver sounds like a guy who just realized Caitlin Clark runs the league more than the commissioner does. This single, impactful observation, which garnered thousands of likes within mere hours, resonated deeply because it articulated what many were already thinking. The true power dynamic within the WNBA had fundamentally shifted, and the league's official leadership seemed utterly unprepared for it. It's crucial to understand that fans weren't necessarily enraged because Adam Silver acknowledged the WNBA has internal relationship issues. That much was already evident. Their fury stemmed from the fact that it took this long, this much public pressure, and this level of outcry for him to even acknowledge such a critical and long-standing problem. And when he finally did speak out, his tone and timing sounded less like genuine concern and more like a desperate reactive attempt at damage control, further eroding public trust. Indeed, the WNBA has been operating under a palpable cloud of tension throughout this entire season, a paradoxical dynamic where unprecedented growth clashes with persistent internal strife. Caitlin Clark's arrival has transformed her into the biggest name in the sport, leading to an explosion of fan engagement, record viewership, and skyrocketing merchandise sales. Yet, despite this incredible surge in popularity and revenue, the league seems to discover new and innovative ways to embarrass itself with alarming regularity week after week. From consistently bad officiating that draws ire from players and coaches alike, to questionable leadership decisions that seem out of touch with player sentiment, and even players publicly calling out their own commissioner for perceived neglect, the WNBA has been a hotbed of controversy. Now Adam Silver has thrown himself directly into this crossfire, seemingly believing he was stepping in to save the day with his measured comments. In reality, he wasn't saving anything. Instead, he inadvertently reminded everyone just how deeply disconnected and out of touch the people ultimately in charge truly are from the very league they govern. As one astute fan so perfectly articulated, posing a question that cuts to the core of the controversy: how is the NBA commissioner more involved with WNBA players' lives than the WNBA commissioner herself? And honestly, that question is not only fair, it's absolutely devastating. Because when a respected veteran like Candace Parker, along with other seasoned players, openly states they've heard more from Adam Silver than from their own commissioner, Cathy Engelbert, it undeniably shifts the entire narrative. At that point, the conversation is no longer primarily about mere paychecks or financial disparities. It fundamentally becomes a crisis of leadership, accountability, and genuine engagement at the highest echelons of the WNBA. Adam Silver's attempt at public diplomacy quickly backfired, revealing a deeper chasm than even the most cynical fans expected. He clearly intended to sound measured, avoiding any direct disrespect towards Caitlyn or outright condemnation of anyone involved, aiming for a neutral stance that he hoped would calm the turbulent waters. Yet, in his effort to appear even-keeled and bridge divides, he instead exposed the raw nerves of a league already on edge, failing to grasp the explosive atmosphere he was stepping into. Diplomacy, no matter how well-intentioned, often rings hollow when the audience is already seething with anger and distrust. Fans, already privy to whispers of significant relationship issues behind the scenes, reacted with a collective eye roll, interpreting Silver's cautious statements as a tacit admission of long-suspected problems. For the players, who've endured countless fruitless discussions, hearing a vague promise of getting a deal done felt like a cruel joke, a precursor to yet another exhausting, hours-long meeting that would ultimately change nothing, solidifying their belief that their concerns were being sidelined. It wasn't necessarily that Silver's words were inherently wrong, but rather that their timing was catastrophically off, like trying to lecture about proper fire safety while the building is actively engulfed in flames. The WNBA was already at a boiling point. Collier had publicly called out Cathy, Caitlyn was still grappling with her recovery, and ominous rumors of an impending lockout were spreading like wildfire throughout the league. In this volatile environment, Adam Silver strolled in, seemingly oblivious, spouting optimistic rhetoric about rocket trajectory and unprecedented growth, completely misreading the room and fueling the very frustration he likely hoped to quell. The more Silver spoke, the more a deeply unsettling comparison began to emerge among fans. His polished, almost unnervingly calm demeanor and carefully chosen words, despite the escalating chaos, struck many as eerily similar to Cathy Engelbert's public persona. This perception of being totally disconnected from reality was perhaps the most damaging blow, as it immediately lumped him in with the very figure who has drawn so much ire, solidifying a narrative that could prove catastrophic for his standing and the league's future. Let's be brutally honest, Silver is undoubtedly kicking himself right now, acutely aware that delving so deeply into the WNBA's unfolding mess was a tactical error. However, as the commissioner and public face of basketball, he was caught in an impossible bind. He couldn't simply ignore the spiraling chaos, especially with a burgeoning ratings controversy threatening to overshadow everything. He felt compelled to address the situation, and that right there is the other colossal piece of this intricate puzzle, the suspiciously stellar WNBA Finals ratings that suddenly surfaced. The WNBA boldly asserted record-breaking viewership, touting millions of viewers and consistent double-digit growth throughout the finals. Yet, a closer inspection revealed a crucial detail: the method for counting these numbers had subtly, yet significantly, changed this year. Nielsen, the industry standard, began incorporating out-of-home viewing, screens in bars, restaurants, and even airport lounges, into their metrics. Conveniently, these newly inclusive numbers just happened to propel this year's ratings into what was immediately hailed as historic territory. While technically legal, this shift in methodology is undeniably misleading, creating an apples to oranges comparison that distorts the true picture. You simply cannot credibly compare 2025 viewership numbers, which encompass every random screen across America, with 2023 figures that did not. It's akin to claiming a 200% growth in your personal wealth simply because you suddenly started counting your distant cousin's bank account as part of your own assets. The context, and thus the integrity of the comparison, is entirely lost. And this is precisely where Caitlin Clark's name once again inevitably enters the conversation, becoming a lightning rod for simmering resentment. The moment fans uncovered this change in ratings methodology, a powerful and pervasive theory took hold. The league was deliberately inflating these numbers to create a false impression of robust, independent growth, specifically to downplay or even negate the perception that they are overwhelmingly reliant on Clark's unprecedented star power. For months, the WNBA has been in a pitched battle against the pervasive Caitlin Clark dependency narrative, desperately trying to prove that the league possesses a thriving, self-sufficient ecosystem capable of flourishing without her singular influence. However, in their relentless attempts to demonstrate this independence, they are inadvertently achieving the exact opposite. Every major headline, every significant discussion, every new controversy inevitably circles back to her, underscoring her undeniable centrality to the league's current relevance, even when she's not actively on the court. Adam Silver, by confidently striding into this volatile environment and echoing claims of historic growth, inadvertently poured gasoline onto the raging fire of conspiracy theories. Online communities exploded with speculation that the league might have been subtly nudged or even directly instructed to inflate these viewership figures. The motive? To maintain investor confidence at an all-time high, especially with a lucrative new $2.2 billion media rights deal looming on the horizon and the conveniently timed collective bargaining agreement negotiations just around the corner. When Silver tried to walk a tightrope, commendably praising Kathy while simultaneously admitting to relationship issues, he inadvertently confirmed everyone's worst fears that the situation behind the scenes was far more dire than anyone dared to imagine.